Happy New Year, everyone. You may be wondering why you clicked on this episode. It's more than just the thumbnail getting you, it's more than just you being curious about it. It's the fact that as a busy professional or just a busy person overall, you realize that you're always tired. You get up in the morning, you're slightly tired. You work through the day, and even sometimes when you get a glimpse of a moment to breathe, to think for yourself, you realize you're tired. And when you get home in the afternoon, maybe you have 3 or 4 hours to relax, to have dinner, to maybe get ready for bed. You're getting tired. And I'm here to help you increase the capacity. I'm not saying that you wouldn't get tired, but what I'm saying is you'll be able to have more room for the tiredness. You have more room to capacitate your stress, to hold on to more stress, if that makes sense. Think of your stress as being the capacity for you holding stress being a cup of water. Well, just an empty cup for now. And as you go throughout the week, you fill up that water or that cup a little bit at a time, a quarter glass at a time. Monday, quarter glass. On Tuesday, maybe half the glass. On Wednesday, maybe a few drops. On Thursday, another quarter. And on Friday, you feel on Friday, if you put any more stress in that cup, it's going to overflow and God knows what's going to happen. So, for you not to overflow the cup, you tend to dim down the things that you wanted to do. Because Friday is the day that if you're working, you finish work earlier usually, or you have something to do in the afternoon, you want to go out for dinner, you want to go out for a show, but you don't have the capacity anymore. And what I'm saying is, we need to turn that cup into a bucket so that you are able to capacitate and to handle more stress. There's always something that I've learned about stress over the years, and in whatever I did in my life, whether it's getting my degree or whether it's dealing with family problems, trauma at an early age, trauma at my adult age, and I realized that stress will always be there. Suffering for human beings will always be there. But we need to be able to have a larger vessel to be able to carry it. A small vessel can take it, but we'll reach capacity very fast. But a bigger vessel will be able to carry a lot more, so we'll be able to do a lot more things. And again, with the cup analogy that I use, if you use a cup analogy and filling the water, which is stress and anxiety through the entire week from Monday to Friday, and let's say, magically resets on Saturday, and on Sunday you start feeling the weariness and you feel it start coming back again, and you know that on Monday you're going to start adding to your stress. And before Monday comes, because on Sunday you're in such high anxiety, that cup starts to fill, and it fills without you even realizing it, because you're anticipating the week. And we want to increase that. And there are many ways in which we can increase the capacity to turn that cup into a bucket for you to be able to handle a lot more stress, a lot more trauma, a lot more curveballs that the week or the days or the months can throw at you. And in the series that I'm looking at, I want to help you, as I've helped myself and many people around me, my family and friends and so on, to be able to increase the capacity from a cup size to a bucket size. And one of the ways in which we need to do this is realize that all that can be trained. We're not doing something magical. There's no magic pill for this, but there's definitely some practical tools that we can use to increase that capacity. And with my background as a personal trainer and having a degree in sports science, I realize that fitness is a large part of it. But we're not going to use fitness in the traditional sense. We were just using fitness and having the goal of becoming fit and having the goal of just losing weight. We're using fitness to try and increase the capacity. And that's what this episode is about, why resilience isn't just mental. We're looking at the fitness component, like I said. And one of the main ways is to increase that bucket size, or in other words, we look at increasing our engine. Every car has an engine, or any vehicle has an engine, and it's the size of the engine that allows that vehicle to do whatever it needs to do and go as far as it needs to go and go as fast as it needs to go. And just like that, in relation to it, we have engines too. And one of the best ways to test our engines is to look at VO2 max. VO2 max basically looks at the efficientness of how our body uses oxygen, how efficiently our body sends oxygen throughout our muscles, our tissues, and takes that oxygen in and does physical activity in an efficient way, without increasing our heart rate too much, without making us get out of breath, or with us being able to do many tasks throughout the day as we can. And looking at the research, Dr. Vonda Wright, she's spent her life looking at the research of VO2 max, and what she discovered that there's a line of frailty. And before I speak to you about the line of frailty, I want to talk to you about VO2 max. What exactly is that? How do you measure it? Is there a number? What exactly does it look like? So VO2 max actually is the number where we can measure, where we can test on the size of your engine that you have. And before I explain what the test is like, or where you can test yourself for VO2 max, this is what it exactly is. Like I said, it measures the amount of oxygen your body can take and use per liter of blood that you have, or that's pumped. And with VO2 max, if you're an adult male in your 30s, as I am, you'll get a number. And there's tables created where you can look at other people in your age group, in other age groups, in different genders, to see what their numbers are, know exactly what is the average that you should be having or could be having at your age group, whether you're fit, whether you are an elite athlete, or whether you are completely unfit. So let's say this number in your mid-30s is around 35, right? Not exactly very good. You're not exactly a very fit person either. You do a few thousand steps a day, if any. You go to work, you come back, you get ready for dinner, bed, that's it. And that day repeats. So you got a VO2 max of 35. That VO2 max of 35 allows you to do all those activities every day before you're extremely exhausted and tired. Let's look at another VO2 max. Let's look at another individual. Let's say this person's name is John. John is 65 years old. He retired 5 years ago. He's at home and he just walks out to his yard every now and again. He has some coffee in the morning. He sweeps up every now and again if he can. Sometimes he has trouble getting up off the couch. He makes some lunch. He sits around watching TV. He reads a book and he goes to sleep at 5 in the afternoon. The reason John goes to sleep at 5 in the afternoon is not because he just feels sleepy at that time. It's because his VO2 max is very low. His engine cannot go further than 5:30 or 6 p.m. in the afternoon. Therefore, he goes to sleep at that time. He wakes up bright and early in the morning and he starts his engine again, and he can only do those few tasks that I just mentioned. Then let's look at someone named Stuart. Stuart is also 65 years old. He is still currently working. Stuart takes care of his grandchildren in the weekend. After 5 days of working, he works from 9 to 5. He goes to gym 3 times a week. He goes for one long run on the weekend. Stuart sleeps at 9 p.m. every night, wakes up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and does this every day. His VO2 max, so his engine, will be slightly, or I would say slightly, I would say significantly higher than John's, because Stuart is able to do more activities in the day. Now, Stuart did not train for this VO2 max. It's just because he has been a busy person most of his life that it allowed him to have this VO2 max of whatever number it is. Could be around 45, it could be around 42, it could be around 40, maybe in branching on 50. Now, why this matters is because both those people that I just mentioned, hypothetical of course, are 65, and one of them has done way more activity, can sleep way later, plays, works, runs, gyms. And the other person watches TV in the day, sleeps at 5:30 in the afternoon, is able to get a few steps a day, and that's it. Now, how would we know that it's not just some illness that John has that causes him to go to sleep at 5:30, not 65, and Stuart has a normal amount of energy, and maybe he has coffee that allows him to go to 9 p.m. at night? It's because of us looking at that number I just told you about, VO2 max. And although I'm not a specialist or an expert on this, I've watched this happen around family members. I've tested theirs, I've tested mine, I've looked at it for many years. I've monitored my VO2 max religiously over the past year and a half, and I saw my energy levels change because I increased my capacity, I increased the size of my engine of VO2 max. So your VO2 max is at a very important number. And going back to what Vonda Wright said about the line of frailty. So the line of frailty for men is 18 and for women is 16. Vonda Wright says basically when you age, let's say you're going to reach 75 to 80 years old, and every decade from wherever you start counting from the time that you get your number for VO2 max, and if you are totally inactive, you lose 5 points every decade. So if I start off with the VO2 max at 35, and me being 35 years old now, I will go to the age of 45 and it'll go to 30. When I go to the age of 55, it'll go to 25. When I go to the age of 65, it'll go to 15. Now I'm already below the line of frailty at the age of 65. The line of frailty just means that I have enough VO2 max, enough energy and capacity in my engine to be able to sit, stand, go to the toilet with minimal help. People probably get me off the couch. I'll walk one step slowly at a time to the toilet, to the bathroom. I'll come back, I'll sit down, and I'll be totally exhausted from doing that because I'm below the line of frailty. And for women, it is 16 that's below the line of frailty. So, if Stuart at 65 has a high VO2 max, has done many tasks, many activities in the day, and if he continuously trains, he will be very old before he reaches the line of frailty. As opposed to John, who's 65, making a minimal task already his VO2 max is very low, and if he doesn't do any more exercise, he will reach the line of frailty very quick at a much faster rate than Stuart ever would. So whenever I talk about VO2 max and increasing your capacity for energy, I realize because I've done this for myself. And what I've noticed is that before I could start my running journey, I would have enough energy to get up in the morning like around 5 a.m., sit in the bed for a while, go have a shower, dress, drive to work the entire day, come back home, get dinner ready, if not already prepped, maybe go to the gym. Most of the time I have no energy to go to the gym, get ready for bed, and pass out around half 8, 9 o'clock. So then I realized in 2025 that I need to do something more about this, and I started reading the book by Robin Sharma, which is the 5 a.m. Club, and he spoke about physical fitness, and he said physical fitness is very important to start your day off with, and just the fact that you burn off cortisol in the morning through sweat, and you start your day off at a very brighter note, a happier note, because you have no stress starting the day, or very low stress. And in January, I started doing my 1 mile every day, which increased my capacity a bit further. I didn't know my VO2 max was low at this point. I just started to, because I use my fitness watch, Apple Watch, and every now and again I would take a look at it. I'm like, oh, okay, it says cardio fitness. Okay, the point is getting higher. I'll do 1 mile every day without fail because I challenged myself to this. I was going to complete it no matter what. Come February, I was able to run a 5K race, which in 2024 I ran a 5K race at 47 or 57 minutes, and now I ran a 5K race at 35 minutes, which was significantly better than the last time. I could actually run for a long time, not the complete 5K, but I could run walk a bit, run, completed it, and I wasn't completely burnt out. I realized it's working, my energy is already increasing. I started to do a bit more training. I started to go out for 1.5 miles, then to 2 miles. I kept going at this, not every single day, but I was doing this 3 times a week, 4 times a week, while weight training in between, resistance training at the gym. And then I realized, as it's getting brighter here in the UK, I might as well do something in the morning. So as it approached May and then June, I decided to go for runs every morning. I just set myself this target. I have to go for a run, 5K run every day, 3 miles every day. Some days would be lesser than that because we had stomach problems and I had to run back home. But most of the time it was 5K every day. Then I realized as I got the day with doing work, I had more energy. Any stressful situation come my way, I'll be able to deal with it easily. I will be able to come home and make dinner without thinking about, I need to sleep. I'll be able to have a nice shower. In the morning, I'll wake up with loads of energy, ready for my run again, just excited to go for it. I mean, not every day was an excitement because your body will be a bit sore. You're doing this every day. But it helped. My capacity for dealing with stress was a lot larger. And I continued June, I continued in July. In August, eventually I was able to run half a marathon. And it did take me maybe 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is not an ideal time. But before I was never able to run half a marathon. But now I am. I increased my energy. I increased my VO2 max. So from my VO2 max being 37, I now increased it to about, at this stage, in August running the half marathon, I think it was at 45, which was insanely good for me. From 37 to 45 in about 8 months or so. And my normal daily tasks that I normally do and get tired with, and thinking obviously makes you tired, it burns a lot of calories, and that wasn't happening. I was gaining energy, I was gaining more momentum, I was able to think better, I was able to add more things. And then I started doing more research into VO2 max, and I found Vonda Wright. I looked at Dr. Huberman and I realized, and Dr. Peter Attia, and I realized they all said the same thing, that it's the engine of the body. It what helps you get a better engine, a stronger engine. And once you start by getting a stronger engine, you'll be able to deal with a lot more stressful things without burning out yourself. You won't burn out your mind. You won't burn through too many calories. That's what burnout essentially is. You're burning through too many calories before you can replenish it. But if you have a bigger engine, if you have a bigger or larger bucket as opposed to a cup, you can handle a lot more things. You'll be able to go for a lot further. So that's my first episode on how it actually would help you. That's part of my first episode. I would actually help you to increase your capacity, your engine size, which is quite important. Because most people think that resilience is mental toughness. That if you just think differently or push through, you'll be fine. But if that were true, most successful people wouldn't be the most burnt out, right? That we know for sure. But what people don't realize, like I said, the VO2 max is so important. We're taking one part of the entire industry, the fitness industry, and you just bringing it down to one number, the VO2 max. And then you're realizing the VO2 max actually linked with you having energy. Not just energy to do another long run, or energy to go to the gym for a longer time, or energy to increase your longevity, or energy to make sure that you have bigger muscles, but energy for normal daily tasks. And we don't think about that enough. And that's what I wanted to focus on. So, if I'm looking at what it can actually do for you, now we already know the things that we can do, right? So why mental resilience is important, but why it doesn't help on its own. Why does it fail? If you just look at positive affirmations and setting intentions and goal setting and blah, 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 and all those things, we already know what to do. We already know that we need to sleep more. We know we need to stress less, but we can't. And because we can't stress less, we can't sleep more. We know we need to exercise, and we know that we need to eat better. We know all these things. Everyone knows that. But it's not always easy just to start it. So I came in a different approach. I want to use a different approach like I use for myself, and I'd say, let's build the engine first. Let's build the engine first, and everything else will be able to move forward with momentum. Now, because when your body is depleted, your mind doesn't have the capacity to cope. A lot of stresses, a lot of trauma, a lot of negative energy that you get from people will bring you down because your energy capacity is low. You have less. You only can tolerate a few things. And when that's done, you're exhausted, your eyes are red, and you want to sleep. Right? Because when you're tired, everything feels heavier. When you're stressed, decision making drops. You lose the ability to make decisions clearly and focus as you would early in the morning compared to late at night or the time when you're exhausted. When energy is low, motivation disappears, and I know this for sure. When my energy is low and I'm feeling low, I don't feel like going to the gym. I can't go out for a run. I can't do anything. But this is not weakness at all. This is not something that you're the only one, or we're the only ones that feeling this. This is biology. Our bodies are designed this way. I had a drink there. So resilience isn't about forcing positive thoughts into an exhausted system. It's about building capacity, like I said, with the bucket, the size of the cup or the bucket. So stress doesn't overwhelm you in the first place. You have a greater capacity for that bucket, right? For more stress to be handled in there. And the more you can handle, the better you become and the more momentum you have. So resilience, we know, is biological, and there's an element of psychology added into it. Right? Because your mind sits on top of your nervous system. Your nervous system sits on top of your body. Everything is linked. I've always heard about the mind-body alignment, and that's what it basically is. When your body is under consistent stress, which most of us are feeling that, having a normal job and working 9 to 5 or whatever it is, and going through especially seasons of winter, there's poor sleep because you're stressed out, you're thinking about things, you're thinking about the next day starting, especially when you have no movement or less movement. You work long hours and your mental overload can't take any more. So your nervous system stays in fight or flight. So it's always not nice to be in survival mode all the time. Because in survival mode, you block off abundance. Any abundance that's supposed to come to you, end up blocking it off because you are concerned with surviving. I'm hungry, I need to eat. That's it. I'm tired, I need to sleep. But if you're in abundance, I'm hungry, I need to eat alternative, I need to eat a nice meal and enjoy it. I'm tired, I need to sleep will turn to I'm tired, I need to rest, maybe to listen to some nice music or read a book. You're changing your idea from being in survival mode into being in abundance mode. This is why resilience must be trained in two ways, right? Psychological skills. So you're focusing, you're reframing, and your purpose that you need to have. And your biological capacity, which is your VO2 max, energy, movement, and recovery. This is why we'll talk about things like I said before, VO2 max, walking and jogging, strength training, recovery habits. All those things are super, super important in training your VO2 max and increasing the capacity for energy that you so very need, and we all need so much. Because we know if you don't do this, we've done this before, you made your New Year's resolutions, I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to start gymming, I'm going to get the gym contract. And as time goes on, you go back to work, your energy gets lower and lower and lower. Because a holiday revitalized you, gave you tons of energy. You could think about this, you could think outside the box. Think about that. When you were at work a couple of weeks ago, you couldn't think out the box. You couldn't think about what you need and how to increase your energy. But when you're on holiday, you could. And you go back to work, same environment, same stress, same lack of energy, and slowly you find it going away. But it's not over yet. So you wake up tired, you're productive, but you feel drained, you feel disconnected from your purpose. And small stresses can sometimes feel big, like you have to load the dishwasher, becomes a huge deal. But if you have to wash dishes, becomes a huge deal. But what doesn't become a huge deal is when you have loads of energy and you feel you have loads of energy. Something just clicks and changes in you. And you're able to sit at 8 p.m. and start a movie. Yeah, I know, that seems like quite late in the afternoon. But when you have loads of energy, which you have given yourself that energy, without anything unnatural, giving yourself energy by just exercising and working on that VO2 max, that engine capacity, you'll be way better. And capacity, as I said, can be rebuilt. When you increase your physical energy, your tolerance for stress increases. You can, like I said, you can handle more stress. Your emotional regulation improves. You can deal a lot more because expressing emotions drain you. Whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whether it's excitement, it takes energy from you. Everything takes energy. Thinking takes energy. Expressing emotion takes energy. Dealing with the situation, making decisions, making food, sitting, standing, running, everything deals with your energy. So if you can find a way to increase your energy from the inside, and that's what I'm going to show you, which is based on VO2 max. So this is why I said resilience isn't about doing more. It's about supporting the system that you already have. So hope this was helpful to you. So I just want to share one more thing that you can do. So there's a test called the Rockport test. This test was developed by the brand Rockport, I believe, where they were testing VO2 max on athletes based on the shoes that they created. So VO2 max testing, normally you go to a lab and they put this like a contraption over your face. You run on a treadmill for 4 minutes at maximum capacity, and they test how much of oxygen output that you had, and which is basically your VO2 max, and they give you a number. But there's other ways. So this Rockport test, they've done the study of the test with the same individuals, the athletic individuals or athletes, have done the VO2 max testing in the lab, and then done the Rockport test to see whether the numbers are the same or similar. So what the Rockport test is you walking 1.6 kilometers or 1 mile, which is the same equivalence, and you're going to see how long it takes you to walk 1.6 kilometers. You're going to be walking at a pace where you can comfortably talk to the person next to you. You can comfortably take a phone call. You're not going to walk too fast where your breathing starts to become heavy, or you're trying to catch your breath. You're going to walk for 1.6 kilometers or 1 mile, and directly after you're done, you count the minutes how long it took you to walk 1.6 kilometers rather, or 1 mile, and then immediately you take your heart rate. If you have a fitness wearable, you can take it on there, or you can find under your wrist or the side of your neck your pulse for 15 seconds, how many times your heart beats for 15 seconds, and multiply that by 4. And when you get that number, you go onto Google, you search up Rockport calculator. All it needs is your gender, male or female. You'll write your weight. You put the time it took you to complete the 1.6 kilometers or 1 mile, and you press calculate, and it'll give you a number. It also gives you on the side of it where you fare in terms of your age group and your gender. It'll tell you whether it's poor, it'll tell you whether it's average, above average, or elite. That's one of the ways you can test your VO2 max in a very easy way. You can do it at home. You can do it anywhere, actually, on a stadium, on a treadmill. But at least you know the size of your capacity, and to know that we can change the size of the capacity so we can do more things in the day. So the next episode, we'll be talking about our daily non-negotiables: movement for stress and energy, not for aesthetics, but for energy; strength as confidence and capacity; recovery habits that actually work; mental tools that integrate with your body. Everything will be practical, simple, and realistic for busy lives, because we all are busy. So my mini action that I want you to do in this for this episode is, for the next 3 days, track 3 things: your energy levels in the morning, afternoon, and evening; your stress levels; and your daily habits: sleep, movement, work intensity. You're going to track all those just to see how much of activity you're doing, how you feel in the morning compared to how you feel in the afternoon, and how you feel in the evening or at night. What do you think your stress levels actually were in the day? That your fitness wearables usually give you that under stress test, or even your heart rate variability on Apple Watch. Your daily habits: time you sleep, the amount of movement, and your work intensity. So track all those 3 things, and then you'll have an idea of where you need to prioritize certain things, what things you need to take off in order for you to start your running, walking, or fitness journey. So before we end, I was going to say a few things. Resilience isn't inherited. It isn't motivation, and definitely it just is not mental alone. It's something you build deliberately, consistently, and practically. In the next episode, we'll talk about daily non-negotiables, the small habits that quietly rebuild your energy and stress tolerance. I'll see you there.